Have you ever felt like someone was watching you from the darkest corner of the room? Their gaze cold, their smile just a little too wide, even in the one place you consider completely safe. Imagine a smile you can never forget, a smile that locks itself inside your mind, that follows you into your dreams, that makes you question whether what you saw was just your imagination or something real, something waiting in the dark. Tonight, we're diving into a story that will crawl under your skin, a story about a smile more terrifying than any scream. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well tonight. Maybe you're listening to this in the dark, maybe you're alone. Either way, after this story, sleep might not come so easily. This is a supposedly true account shared online years ago, a story that has since become one of the most disturbing urban legends to circulate on the internet. It's known simply the Smiling Man. The person who experienced it went by the name Blue. Blue was a young man living in Washington, D.C. He had a nightly ritual, something he described as his way of clearing his head. No matter how stressful his day had been, no matter the weather, he would lace up his running shoes and head out alone into the quiet city streets. To him, running at night was therapy. The city felt different after midnight. The traffic noise faded, the sidewalks emptied, streetlights cast long, distorted shadows across the pavement. It was peaceful in a way that daytime could never be. For nearly 3 years, Blue followed the same routine. Same streets, same quiet intersections, same empty stretches of road. And in all that time, nothing strange ever happened. No threats, no danger, no uneasy feelings. The night belonged to him. Until one night, it didn't. It was around 2 a.m. when Blue turned down a side street he'd walked hundreds of times before. The air was still, no wind, no passing cars, just the distant hum of the city sleeping. That's when he saw him. At first, Blue thought it was just another late-night pedestrian, a tall figure standing beneath a street lamp, facing slightly away from him. But something felt off immediately. The man wasn't walking. He wasn't standing still either. He was dancing. If you could even call it that. It wasn't rhythmic, it wasn't joyful.
It was an awkward, jerky movement, slow, deliberate steps forward, mixed with strange, exaggerated twists of the shoulders and arms, almost like someone pretending to be human. Blue slowed his pace. Something in his gut told him to cross the street, so he did. He tried not to stare, but as he moved under the glow of another streetlight, he glanced back. The man had stopped dancing. He was now facing Blue directly. And that's when Blue saw the smile. It stretched unnaturally wide across the man's face. Not a friendly grin, not amusement. It was fixed, rigid, almost mechanical. And his eyes, they were locked onto Blue, unblinking. The man's posture was stiff, arms hanging loosely at his sides, but his head was tilted slightly downward, forcing him to look up through his brow, a predator studying prey. Blue felt a chill run through his body. He told himself he was overreacting. Maybe it was just some drunk guy messing around. Maybe someone high. Maybe someone unstable. But as Blue continued walking, trying to appear calm, he realized something worse. The man had started moving again. Not dancing this time. Following. Slow at first, matching Blue's pace. Still smiling. Still staring. And then, he began to close the distance. Blue didn't run immediately. He didn't want to trigger something. He kept walking, heart pounding harder with every step. The street ahead felt longer than it ever had before. The silence was suffocating. And when Blue finally dared to look back again, the man was much closer than he should have been. That same impossible smile carved across his face. No sound of footsteps, no sound of breathing. Just that smile, gliding toward him through the darkness. Blue made a decision. He ran.
And what happened next is what turned this encounter into one of the most chilling urban legends ever shared online. Because sometimes, it's not the scream in the night that haunts you. It's the smile that never fades. For years, Blue had believed the streets of Washington, D.C. were harmless. He ran the same routes every night. He knew every corner, every cracked sidewalk, every porch light that flickered, even the way the moonlight shaped the shadows between parked cars. Nothing had ever disrupted his routine. He had never been followed, never confronted. He hadn't even encountered so much a stray dog that made him uneasy. The city at night felt empty, safe. It felt like it belonged to him. That sense of security made what happened next even harder to process. Everything changed in May of 2013. That night felt different. The air carried a sharper chill than usual, and the silence seemed unusually thick, almost heavy, like the world itself was holding its breath. Blue started his jog the way he always did, energized, focused, music playing softly through his headphones as he moved through streets that normally brought him peace. He had no idea he was about to experience the longest and most terrifying night of his life.
On a particularly quiet stretch of road, beneath the weak glow of a street lamp, Blue noticed something in the distance, a silhouette, standing in the middle of the street. At first, he assumed it was just another late-night wanderer, but as he drew closer, his heartbeat began to quicken, not from exertion, but from a growing sense of unease. The figure was a man, roughly 6 feet tall, slim but upright, still. Except, he wasn't still. He was moving, dancing, if that's even the right word. The movements were completely unnatural. His arms jerked at odd angles. His fingers twitched and writhed like worms, curling and uncurling in rapid, erratic patterns. His legs shifted in stiff, uneven steps, like a malfunctioning machine trying to imitate human motion, or like someone mid-seizure, but disturbingly controlled. Nothing about it looked spontaneous. Nothing looked fluid. Every movement felt forced, deliberate, wrong. The silence of the street made it worse. There was no music, no laughter, no sign of intoxication. Just this lone figure performing a grotesque, mechanical dance under a dim streetlight. And then Blue noticed something even more disturbing. The man was looking straight up at the sky. His head was tilted back at an uncomfortable angle, as if he were searching for something among invisible stars. He continued dancing while staring upward, never once glancing around to check his surroundings. And on his face, there was a smile. Not a casual grin, not amusement. It was a wide, rigid grin that exposed his front teeth completely, stretched far beyond what felt natural, as if the muscles in his face had locked into place, as if the expression wasn't connected to any real emotion at all. It didn't change. It didn't flicker. It just stayed there, frozen, unnatural. And in that moment, standing in the quiet darkness of a Washington street, Blue felt something primal awaken inside him, the unmistakable instinct that something was very, very wrong. That smile made Blue's skin crawl. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't amusement. It was empty. A hollow, emotionless grin stretched wide across the man's face, threatening in a way that was impossible to explain. His eyes remained fixed upward, unblinking, creating a horrifying contrast with that frozen, exaggerated smile. A slow, creeping sense of dread crawled up Blue's spine. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. Every instinct he had began screaming at him. Run. Don't question it. Don't rationalize it. Just get away. Blue slowly began to turn his body, careful not to make any sudden movements. He didn't want to draw attention to himself. He didn't want to trigger something. Each step felt dangerous, like the smallest sound might set off whatever this was. Adrenaline surged through him. He took another step, then another, and finally, he risked one last glance over his shoulder. The man had turned too. He was now facing Blue directly, and then
He started running. The movement was just as unnatural as the dancing. His arms flailed in erratic, jerking motions. His gait was uneven but disturbingly fast. And somehow, impossibly, his head was still tilted upward toward the sky, that same wide grin locked in place. He was running without looking where he was going, yet he was running straight at Blue.
That was the moment true panic set in. Blue's heart slammed violently against his ribs. He didn't think anymore. He didn't hesitate. He ran, as fast as he could. His footsteps pounded against the pavement, echoing through the empty street. He scanned desperately for any sign of life, a lit window, a passing car, anything. But the road was abandoned. No headlights, no voices, no help. Just darkness, and the sound behind him. Footsteps, relentless, unchanging. For nearly 10 minutes, the chase continued. 10 minutes that felt like an eternity. Every second stretched painfully long. Blue's lungs burned. His legs screamed in protest. His vision began to blur from exhaustion, but fear pushed him forward. He didn't dare look back again. He didn't want to see how close the man was. Because the worst part wasn't the running. It wasn't the exhaustion.
It was the certainty, the suffocating certainty that whatever was chasing him wasn't human, and it wasn't getting tired. Desperation does strange things to the mind. At some point, Blue realized he couldn't keep running forever. The footsteps behind him never slowed, never stumbled, never faded. If this thing didn't get tired, then what was the point? A reckless thought forced its way into his head. Face him. With whatever courage he had left, courage fueled more by panic than bravery, Blue came to a sudden stop. His shoes scraped against the pavement as he spun around to confront the figure charging toward him. If he was going to be attacked, at least he would see it coming. Breathing hard, lungs burning, Blue shouted at the top of his voice, "Why are you chasing me? What do you want?" His voice cracked, but he forced it louder, harsher, trying to sound aggressive, trying to sound unpredictable, trying to scare whatever this was. It was his last gamble. For a split second, it worked. The man stopped. Then, slowly, he stepped backward. One step, then another. But everything else stayed the same. His head was still tilted upward toward the sky, his eyes still stretched wide and unblinking, and that smile, that horrible, exaggerated grin, never moved. He didn't speak, he didn't blink, he didn't change expression. He simply retreated in slow, measured steps, like a puppet being pulled backward by invisible strings. Blue felt the smallest flicker of hope. Maybe that was enough. Maybe he'd scared him off. Without waiting to find out, Blue turned and started running again, putting as much distance as possible between them. His legs felt like lead, but relief gave him a temporary surge of energy. Maybe it was over. Maybe the nightmare was ending. After several seconds, he risked another glance over his shoulder. The man was still there, still chasing him. Same posture, same upward tilted head, same grotesque smile. And somehow, he hadn't fallen behind. The brief hope Blue felt collapsed instantly into raw terror. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't random. He was being pursued. Blue pushed himself harder than he had ever before. Every ounce of remaining strength went into one goal: reach the main road, reach light, reach people, reach noise. Somewhere public, somewhere safe. His breaths came in ragged gasps. His chest felt like it was splitting open.
His vision tunneled at the edges, but he kept going, focused only on the distant glow ahead. Then finally, headlights. Traffic noise. Street lights brighter than the dim residential lamps behind him. Blue burst onto the main road, stumbling slightly as he slowed down. Cars passed. Engines roared. Life was here. Witnesses were here. He bent over, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. Then he looked back. The street he had just run from was empty. Completely empty. No figure. No movement. No silhouette under the streetlights. The man was gone.
Not walking away, not hiding, just gone. As if the darkness had swallowed him whole, as if he had never been there at all. But Blue knew what he saw, and he would never forget that smile. Relief hit Blue all at once. It was overwhelming, but it wasn't clean. It wasn't comforting.
It was tangled with confusion and a lingering, crawling fear that refused to leave his body. He was safe, at least for now. His hands trembled. Cold sweat clung to his skin, despite the chill in the air. Every passing car felt like a shield between him and whatever had just chased him through the dark. He didn't hesitate. He went straight home. No cool-down walk, no music, no looking back. He just wanted walls around him, a locked door, a light he could turn on and off. Something normal, something human. That night, the longest night of his life, ended with Blue sitting awake in his apartment, replaying every second in his mind. The dancing, the upward stare, the smile. After that night, he never sallallahu alayhi wasallam the man again. The figure known online, alayhi salam, the smiling man, never reappeared on his route. No more strange silhouettes under streetlights. No more distant footsteps echoing behind him. Physically, the man was gone. But mentally, he never left. That smile embedded itself into Blue's memory like a scar. He would see it when he closed his eyes, not clearly, but enough. Just enough to feel that same wave of dread wash over him. Sometimes, just as he drifted towards sleep, he would picture that frozen grin hovering in the darkness of his room, watching. Blue stopped jogging at night entirely. He couldn't do it anymore. Empty streets no longer felt peaceful. They felt predatory. Silence didn't feel calming. It felt like a warning. Even now, years later, he admits that whenever he sees someone smiling just a little too wide, or someone staring blankly without blinking, his heart skips. Because once you've seen something that unnatural, something that moves like a person but doesn't feel like one, you don't forget it. Some people believe the encounter was just a disturbed stranger. Others think it was something else entirely. Something that doesn't belong under streetlights. Something that only appears when you're alone. So the next time you're walking home late at night, and you see someone standing under a dim lamp, dancing, smiling, staring up at nothing, you might want to turn around, and whatever you do, don't let it see that you're afraid. In the weeks that followed, Blue did what most people would do. He went online. He searched forums, old message boards, Reddit threads, archived paranormal blogs. He typed in every variation he could think of. Man smiling at night. Dancing man chasing jogger. Unblinking man staring at sky. Eventually, he found something. Stories.
Scattered accounts from different parts of the country, and even a few overseas, describing a figure known alayhi salam, the smiling man. The details varied, different cities, different times, but there were similarities that made his stomach drop. A tall man, alone at night, strange, unnatural movements, and that same wide, frozen grin. But none of the stories were exactly like his. None described the precise way the man moved. None captured the suffocating silence of that chase. None explained how he could run so fast without looking where he was going. Reading those accounts didn't comfort Blue. If anything, they made it worse, because now he had to consider two possibilities. Either his mind had constructed something so vivid that strangers across the world imagined similar horrors, or something real was out there. Something that didn't belong to one city. Something that appeared when the streets were empty. The fear slowly blended with something else. Curiosity. an unsettling, obsessive curiosity. Had anyone else been chased? Had anyone else confronted it? What would have happened if he hadn't reached the main road in time? Whenever news reports mention strange late-night incidents, unexplained encounters, joggers reporting being followed, security footage showing odd figures lingering under streetlights, Blue felt his pulse quicken. He couldn't stop connecting it back to that night. He began to wonder if the encounter had been random at all. What if it wasn't chance? What if it chooses people? What if it waits for routines, for isolation, for the moment someone feels completely safe? And sometimes, when the city is quiet and Blue lies awake in bed, he can't help but think about one detail that still doesn't make sense. When he turned and shouted at it, it stepped back, almost like it was playing with him, almost like it didn't want to end the chase too soon. Blue doesn't run at night anymore, but somewhere, in some quiet neighborhood, under some dim streetlight, someone else might be jogging alone, feeling safe, unwatched, until they notice a figure in the distance, dancing, smiling, waiting.